My ex and I divorced about 12 years ago. We have a teen son together. She married a guy. A couple of years later, he has a daughter. 19. So my son has known her for about 10 years. She's always been nice to him, and there have never been any serious arguments between them. My ex and her husband live about an hour and a half from town. So when she got into college, they decided they didn't want her commuting 3 hours a day, especially in winter. So they budgeted for her to live with friends while in school. I've known the girl since she was 7 years old. She's an intelligent, charming, and friendly kid. She's also burnt out from school. I'm not gonna defend her actions. She lied to my ex and her father about dropping out of college. She did her first semester, but she was overwhelmed and dropped out, and she didn't tell them, but she kept the money they sent her for housing and food. She shouldn't have lied, but I understand why she did. They cut off her funding and told her to get a job, which is totally fair. If you aren't in school, you should be supporting yourself. She had enough money to make it to July. She found a job, but it didn't pay enough to cover living in the city. Her dad and my ex would not. Let her move home. My son called me to ask if I could help her out. I thought about it, and I said I would. I have a room in my house, so I told him to have her call me. We discussed it, and she moved in. At the beginning of this month, she's paying rent she can afford and buying her food. She's also doing chores around the house. My ex found out what I did and lost it on me. Their plan was for her to be so desperate that she agreed to return to college with them. Keeping a closer eye on her, I screwed everything up by not letting her become homeless. Her husband is angry with me for interfering with a kid I'm not related to. I can understand where they're coming from, but I think they're not doing the right thing. I just want my son to know she's in a safe place. I also think she will return to school when she figures out how much it sucks to only have a high school diploma. Hey there, I knew I'd forgotten something. Her mom and dad's family are all in Alberta when she doesn't want to move there. And please know that to my knowledge, she isn't into people with a Y chromosome. I'm not into girls young enough to be my daughter. Not the idiot big time she's burnt out in her late teens and someone calls you an idiot for helping her. Wow, their plan was for her to be so desperate that she agreed as someone with mental health issues who also overworked themselves and had to drop out of uni. Your ex makes me really angry. I cannot understand why any parent would let this knowingly happen and even make it worse. That's just cruel. You potentially saved her from stuff like depression or other struggles she must have. Her reasons that she lied to them, her parents sound controlling. Do they really want her to be homeless? That's beyond cruel. I do think it's funny that her dad and your ex didn't think your son was caring or smart enough to try to figure out how to help his sis. Kudos to him for trusting and asking you. College isn't for everyone, she should have told them, but from their attitude, it seemed she knew it would be futile. I'm a psychologist, and I've had a few clients in similar situations. Do you know what I've never seen? Financial coercion leads to healthy and happy adults. Her parents should be damn ashamed of themselves. Clearly, she knew her parents wouldn't support her. Trying to take care of her mental health, these people are okay with their daughter being homeless on the streets of Winnipeg. If it means they get their way, that's so incredibly messed up. She lied as a survival mechanism because she didn't see any other way. Again, that doesn't make it okay. But the psychologist side of me has a lot of compassion for folks with parents like hers. My 33 female older brother 40 has 3 preschool-aged kids. I myself have no children by choice. We never were very close, but he always asked for help with the kids. Saturday was a beautiful day. My husband and I had plans to spend the day in our pool at 10 a.m. He calls me and asked me to come over and help with the kids for an hour or two, because his wife is going to get her nails done. I declined and told him what my plans were. He has a fit, saying that I could come to help him and then go home and still spend all day in the pool, which is true. He only lives about 15 minutes from me. But honestly, I just didn't want to have to spend the morning with these kids and was really not in the mood to babysit. So again I said no, hung up and had a nice day with my husband. Later that day, I got a nasty text from sister-in-law about not helping out. She was angry. She had to cancel her nail appointment. She pretty much called me an immature idiot for not helping my mom. Thinks I could have just gone over for an hour or two, since it wouldn't have messed with my plans, and I had no real reason not to. Now I feel like an idiot. Edit, he's never been alone with them. My mom or his mother-in-law are always there. Sister-in-law doesn't really do much either. It's mostly my mom and his mother. In-law that take care of them, did I read this correctly, a 40-year-old. Parent can't keep his own kids alive for a few hours, and a third party is somehow to blame. Daddy-o can't parent his children for a few hours to give his wife a little me time, so it's Opie's full, not the idiot tell. Tell me how much this man dislikes kids without pointing to his failure to have a good relationship with his younger sister. I couldn't believe the sister-in-law cancelled her appointment. What the heck I read? This not realizing that the outcome could be that it's unreasonable, that the guy can't pair in his kids for a couple of hours alone. Can it be that he's managed to father 3 kids under 5 and done no solo parenting? What a terrible partner. Wow, just wow. So your sister-in-law needed a babysitter for your brother. Just tell them you're right. If you can't handle 3 kids and don't have 3 kids, that's just pathetic. Honestly, I text your brother, sister-in-law, and mother and tell them that there was no reason that brother couldn't have been with his own children for an hour, and that sister-in-law shouldn't have had to cancel her appointment. I'd also state that because the brother refuses to be an active parent to his own children, you will not watch the children. So don't even ask you, have to love the entitlement of asking you to drop everything without notice on the assumption that sister-in-law could go and have some self-care time at your expense. Next time, don't tell him what your plans are. Go full-on Phoebe and say, I wish I could help, but I don't want to. Oh, and you should get him a $2 sympathy card and just write, Welcome to Parenthood. In it, when my mom died back in 2018, she left me and my siblings a decent chunk of money and her house. My siblings wanted to sell the house and split the money. I wanted to keep the house. It's a unique property with a pretty big lot in the middle of the city. The house is 4-3. There's a pretty awesome deck, and most importantly, not in an HOA. I had some sentimental attachment to her. But mostly, I thought the house was better for my situation than a pile of cash. I asked them if I could buy them out. They were excited about the idea. The house would stay in the family, and they still get their cash. We got it appraised, hired an attorney, and went through with it. My portion of the inheritance and a chunk of my savings were enough to cover their shares as soon as it was done. My fiancé and I moved in, we saved a bunch on rent. The house was paid off, the location was great. And we were delighted with the house. My brother burned through the cash in 2 years. He fancied himself and became an influencer. He bought a Maserati for cash, went to expensive nightclubs and they locations in exotic places. Good for him. But money is gone. My sister and her husband bought a really expensive boat. That's better, they did use it pretty often, and my nephews love it. But from what I understand, her portion of the money is gone too. I got married and we had a son. We would host my siblings on holidays and Christmas before the global issue, and I started to notice it. They were making snide comments about how much the house must be worth now. Since 2018, we had an influx of people to my city. It's growing rapidly, and the price of the house is essentially tripled. We've had a bunch of all-cash offers on the house when we weren't thinking of selling. But this year we decided to move. My wife was pregnant again, and we would relocate closer to her family. I talked to my boss, and he said the place we were moving to had an office I could commute to on the days I worked there. So he put the house on the market. It sold pretty quickly, and that's when the trouble started. Both of my siblings think that I owe it to them to split the profit. I made because it's only fair. We were in the middle of a move and house hunting in the new place, so I didn't really have time to go on about this. Well, it's been months, and they haven't stopped bothering about how I cheated them out of a portion of their inheritance, and I was being really selfish. They pointed out that my buying them out was pretty smooth. We didn't have any problems or hiccups, and they did me a favor by not kicking up a fuss. Now they want to split the profit because it was their house too. This has become really toxic. And most of my family is on their side. My mom's sister said it would have broken her heart to see her kids fight like this, and I should split the money with my siblings. My dad's sister thinks I should buy them off so they shut up. Am I the idiot for refusing to split the money? Not the idiot. The fact that they didn't understand that you can either invest or spend an inheritance is not your problem. They chose to spend their inheritance while you chose to invest yours. Now that they've thrown theirs away, it's on them. Do you think your siblings will share if they sell the Maserati or the fancy boat? I don't think. So yeah, it's not your fault that the house is worth more now than when you bought out your siblings. I'd point out that all three of you invested your inheritance in different ways, and yours is the only one that paid off financially, say the market had gone in a different direction, and the house lost value between the time you bought them out and the time you sold it. Would they have paid you for a portion of the loss? Of course they wouldn't. All they seem to care about is getting the bag from the 3 times increase in price. Also, on a more practical note, that they contribute 2/3 of every tax bill. Home insurance repairs, renovations. When a water heater broke, did they pay? 2/3 of the repair cost. Did they spend hours vetting contractors? OP has paid in time, money and effort to maintain the value of this asset. And somehow these idiots think they're entitled to the profits. These people are crazy. Music. My 23 female boyfriend, 26, recently moved in with me since then. We've had some disagreements about chores. He wants me to tell him when to do what. I told him that it was unfair to expect me to carry the sole responsibility of the household and always to be aware of when something needs to be done. He said it wasn't that much work recently. I asked him to set the table while I cooked. The table was slightly dirty with some stuff scattered around from hosting a game night the night before, and he set it as it was. I asked him why. He didn't clear off and wipe down the table, and he said, You didn't tell me I should have asked him to clear the table, wipe it down, and set it. So it was my fault, so I made a list of set chores that always needed to be done, like changing sheets, cooking dishes, cleaning the bathroom, to divide them. I gave myself about 40 and him 60% of the work he told me. This was really unfair. I told him that managing everything is work too. And if he expects me to do it, it's unfair to expect me to do. Equal jaws on top of it. Edit the table was sticky from spilled drinks with empty cans, papers, pens, dice and game boxes scattered around. There was barely any room to eat. He lived with family before this. Now we pay 50-50. I want to continue this relationship and hope he's going to deal with this. Dinner ends you, honey. Can you take care of the dishes? Him throws dishes in the garbage, breaking them, you what the heck. I just wanted you to wash them, him. You didn't tell me to wash them, just to take care of them, you hopefully looking up weaponized incompetence online. Not the idiot, but to be honest, this would be a deal breaker for me. You are not his mother. He should not require you to give him orders. Imagine having children with this guy who cannot be expected to do. Jack, unless told, is this what you want for the rest of your life? And if you accept this deal, you bet sooner or later he will complain. You are nagging Google, weaponized, incompetence and mental load, and think long and hard about this relationship. You are very young, I guarantee. There are many better men out there have high standards. My ex was like this. He always told me he didn't mind helping. I just needed to tell him what to do, and when that. He didn't have the same level of cleanliness that I did. He'd say he doesn't notice when things are dirty, or I'd ask him to clean the ensuite shower because I hated doing it glass doors. He told me he'd clean it next time he was showering because that's easier, but he'd forget. I refused to be a girlfriend who nagged, so after a while I was tired of asking and stopped one day. He was literally playing games as I cleaned around him, getting the house ready for his friends to come over. It was exhausting. Then I remembered the story his mother told me about how useless his last girlfriend was, and how she'd go over to clean, and the girlfriend would just sit there while the mother vacuumed around her. I'm only just realizing now how smart the ex-girlfriend was. Except I can't live in a dirty place. Anyways, rumor has it the ex now has a house cleaner. Shocked Obi he won't change. My dad is getting married soon. He and his fiancée just bought a house together, and we'll all be moving into the house in a week. My dad has me a teen female and my brother 19. His fiancée has 4 kids, a young male teen, a male tween, a male younger tween, and a female pre-tween. That is big enough for me and her younger kids to have our own room. Her older 2 like sharing. But her daughter wants to share a room with me. She said she never had a sister before and the boys prefer each other to her. So she'd love for us to be sister roommates and for her to get to share a room with her new sister. I heard her say this stuff, and it wasn't totally surprising because she tries to be my shadow when she sees me. My dad's fiancée loved the idea. My dad told her. Fiancé, they'd need to ask me first, and when they asked, I said no. I was asked why, and I said, I like my privacy, and there's space for me to have my own room, and that was the original plan. His fiancé said, it would be a great chance for us to bond, and I said, I don't care. I don't want to share the room. My dad said it was okay. He and his fiancé argued over it. Then she asked me again and told me. Her daughter would be really upset if I said no. She asked if I didn't want a sister, and I said no. I've always loved and had a good relationship with my brother, and never considered having a sister that sharing with her daughter would not fulfill some secret wish. I've always had. It would frustrate me when I was supposed to have my own room. My dad's fiancée was angry about my refusal, and her daughter, as she predicted, was upset. She tried to talk me around, which didn't work and only upset her more, leading to her mom being angrier with me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. In what world would a teenager and a preteen have anything in common? The age difference is significant. You are both at different stages of development with different needs. Of course, you want your own space, and your dad's fiancé is not thinking about you at all, only her own child. So don't accept this emotional blackmail. Stand your ground. It's sad that the little girl has her feelings hurt, but that doesn't make it right for you to cave and share a room with her soft. You are the idiot. I get you are being badgered, but a lot of your responses were hurtful and unnecessary. All you had to say was, "I want my privacy," and was told I'd have my own room that said, "The real Lydia in all of this is your dad," for allowing any of this conversation to happen after you initially said, "No, he's doing a horrible job as your parent and protecting your interests." I disagree with this. The only her party is the little stepsister who's clearly been given unrealistic expectations by her mother. If soon-to-be stepmom had communicated from the start that they wouldn't be sharing a room, that have been no hurt feelings, this was an ops problem to fix. Honestly, I think stepmom wants a babysitter.